I never saw myself as a provider. I am a researcher, and I look more at systems and really think about the health from a macroscopic view. So to provide individual care has been different. But I was working on a project with the March Dimes, and I had to help evaluate a project that they were doing. It was called Community Voices, and it was a infant mortality project. And at the time, Memphis had the highest infant mortality rate in the country. And of course, the majority of those were dying were Black babies. And so these families were part of this intervention, and I interviewed the families about their experiences with infant loss, but also their experiences with the medical system. And many of them talked about how they felt like their bodies were broken, or that they didn't trust the medical system, and that many of their losses were generational, right? They talked about their mothers and aunts and grandmothers and sisters and all of the loss that they had experienced in their families. And those stories really stuck with me. I was devastated by these stories, right? And especially around the idea that they felt that their bodies were broken. And so I was talking to a friend of mine. Her name is Femi Ajanaku. She's a sociologist in Memphis, and she's an older Black woman. And she told me that she and her friends had midwives when she was childbearing years. And I was like, midwives? We don't have any midwives in our community. I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, they sought out midwifery care. And she talked to me a little bit about the farm and some of the other, happenings in Tennessee. And it really made me dig deeper into the history of midwifery in our country, but not just the history of midwifery in our country, the history of midwifery in the South. And what I saw was the systematic erasure of Black midwives in the South. And so those stories stayed with me, not just the people I interviewed, but even the stories that I read. And so I felt called to reclaim and restore Black midwifery in the South, especially in Memphis, which is a predominantly Black community that was facing some of the highest infant mortality and maternal mortality rates in the country. So I went home and told my husband that I thought I was supposed to be a midwife.